Take some unbelievable planning and secrecy and everything else. And so I think it could be done. I do. Well, I'm not saying good things be done. I'm just saying it's way out there on the edge. That's way out the pool for a possibility. Leave it to liberal talk radio in America to make it a hijack. I got it. Okay. Good to hear you. Thank you. I appreciate it. Let's go to Tom in Atlanta. You're on the XLT show. All right. I'm a retired airline pilot from the USA, and I actually went over to China and was flying that area for about 3 years. A 767, which is just a little smaller than a 777. We had a lot of areas where we were not in radar contact, and even if you were the radar contact close to Brazil, it took almost 3 weeks to find any wreckage from that area. So you don't think this is very unusual then, if they're not being able to find it in this period of time? I believe so. Right now, I think this indicates that the searching of the other aircraft, I think it would be hard to find people that the aircraft will disintegrate over water. And we could come up with something again like the air transport, where if they get the water, most of that refuge is underwater at the time, and the time the video going through, you'll start seeing parts of it come up.
Yeah, seat cushions, stuff like that.
Exactly.
Yeah, there are affordable items that are on that aircraft. Manual position reports. I mean, that's spooky territory to be cruising at 43,000 feet, or whatever.
Yeah, exactly. We were just kind of out there on our own, which was a big change to flying here in the States and flying in Europe where you had radar coverage. There, it's a whole different ballgame over there.
Yeah, it's not like Seattle Center's got you covered, you know.
Yeah. A lot of it, as you would, reach an FAR, which for people to understand it, it's a country's coverage through their line, it's like crossing a state line or something, but that's where you pick up another radar coverage, and usually we have no one there. We were just making position reports.
Yeah. There would be clearly a recording of the last communication with the aircraft. Wouldn't there?
Yeah. The aircraft facilities, they did have recorded there, but like I say, a lot of that was spotty too. We had times where we would travel for probably an hour and maybe still find a talk to someone on an HF frequency. And, HF radio was spotty at best. So there were times we went talk to anyone, or we just pressing on our way to fly.
Thanks, Don. Get it on your right side of the XLT. I'll be around here somewhere, and this might be so. It can happen at the best of us. If you need to have your government ID stored, remember to report it immediately to your chain of command and the MPs. If you don't, it could represent a serious breach of security. Because a lost ID in the wrong hands can give anyone the power to essentially become you. Access granted. Help keep out terrorists. Report missing government IDs as soon as possible. If you could hear your neighbor shot,
We just love hearing that stereo.
this fine trivia thanks to you can be a big deal to your neighbor.
You left the skateboard on the stairs. Oh, come on, people. In the bumper.
Every other time of the day, walking be a good neighbor.
Hey, why don't you guys come over for dinner?
You might be glad you did.
Bob's making this. Today, there are video games for almost every sport you can imagine. But really, which one was more fun? This or this? Real-life activities are far more beneficial to your child than video games. So to help prevent childhood obesity, plan family events around physical activities. Not only are they better for your child, they also sound like they're way more fun.
Earthlings are adjusting locks and doors. It will be easy to assume their identities.
Yes, Caldor. We will simply utilize their internet or telephone system.
Edith North Rogers' lifelong commitment to veterans began during World War I, when she volunteered for the American Red Cross. President Patty, Cruz, and Hoover would all go on to place her in charge of assisting disabled veterans. In 1925, she was elected to Congress to complete her late husband's unfinished term. During her long tenure, she helped draft and introduce the GI Bill of Rights, guaranteeing veterans health and education benefits. At the start of World War II, she introduced legislation establishing the Women's Army Auxiliary Corps, allowing women to serve in the armed forces. After 35 years in Congress, Rogers retired as the longest-serving woman in the history of the House of Representatives. And until her death, she fought against child labor and for equality for women in and out of the military. Edith North Rogers, an American patriot.
1991, the second day of the First Gulf War. Marine Lieutenant Colonel Cliff Avery was flying an OB-10 Bronco over Iraq when it was hit by a surgically air missile. After ejecting from their aircraft, Avery and his fellow crewmen were captured and taken to the headquarters of the Iraqi Secret Police. There, they were interrogated and tortured for 47 days. Their captors also forced him to appear in a propaganda video, but when they tried to get him to sign a statement criticizing the President of the United States, he refused. The courageous defiance of Cliff Avery reflected Article 5 of the Code of Conduct. to my country and its allies or harmful to their cause. The Code of Conduct. Strength to survive.
From liberal to conservative and everything in between. The American Forces Radio Network's Power Talk. The most listened to liberal soccer in America is back. Here's Ed Schultz. March Madness.
There's an undefeated team out there, Wichita State. They lost the game. 30-some wins this year. What the heck? This hour brought to you by Buyer Grain Clean, BIOTREENCOEAN.com. I will tell you why you should order this finest cleaning product on the face of the earth in a moment. I love talking airplanes, and so that's why we started out talking about Flight 370. It was just terribly unusual that they haven't found it. And I really appreciate that last call, Tom, former airline pilot. My wife was just asking me, she says, well, how do you not run into somebody way out there if you're not on radar coverage? Well, let me simplify it. When you get above 18,000 feet, I think I've got this right. If you go above 18,000 feet, you set your altimeter. Everybody does it uniformly at 929 or 902. That's right. Above 18,000 feet, you go to 902. So everybody's going to get an accurate reading of exactly what altitude you're going to be at, because everybody's playing by the same altimeter rules, okay? So you constantly have it set at 29 or 902, and depending on where you're going on the compass, from 0 to 360 degrees, will determine whether you're flying at an odd altitude or an even altitude, meaning 18,000, 20,000, 22,000, 24,000, or, 31 or 33 or 35,000, depending on the direction. And so that's how that operates. There's a really good chance you're not going to run into anybody if you do what the hell you're supposed to do. I mean, the only people that are going to be flying in that part of the world are highly trained professional pilots, and that's just the way the world turns. You're not going to have any crop dusters up there screwing around looking for a cornfield, okay? I mean, these are highly trained pilots that have gone through rigorous training to be in the left seat, pilot in command of an aircraft that big. So in other words, if something went wrong, the guy in the left seat and the guy in the right seat would know exactly what to do. They have recurrency training, they have emergency procedures, certain times they have to go through, they have flight checks, they have company regulations, all that kind of stuff. I'm just saying that a hijack is not out of the question. If you can't find the aircraft, then you can't rule anything out. Carol in Carmel Valley, California, you're on the Ed Schultz Radio Show. Hello.
Hi, how you doing?
Good.
I want to thank you for coming up with my theory. I have been talking for 2 days about a hijacking, and I can't get anybody to believe me. I think that anything that can be thought up can be made up. So, for instance, the Dick Tracy talking into, the wrist, a watch. I mean, we have that now. So I'm thinking, all right, we have no debris, we have no oil slick, and you can't crash a plane without debris. Even if it were to land quietly on the water, which is like a snowball chance that could possibly happen, even if it could land quietly on the water, there's still going to be floating luggage or floating debris or something that's going to break off when it lands. So that part being said, I'm thinking that there are radar blocks. And so, from an aviation standpoint, thank you for clearing up all that. But I've been thinking, couldn't that plane, it's not in any contact with anybody, and couldn't that plane just fly off somewhere? And you're talking about, thousands of feet off the ground. I'm not necessarily so sure about that, but I'm thinking, what about a radar block? And you're talking about, I guess, transponders being shut off and all that. Yes, all that's true. And could there not be a radar block? And I agree with you that
you know, this is not a spontaneous plan here. This is obviously really planned if it was hijacked. And therefore, that runway strip that you're talking about could easily have been built just for the purpose of landing this plane and taking all these people.
I mean, I admit it's kind of a blacklist theory with James Spader, but look, it's very possible. I have a runway in the middle of the forest in Canada of 3,300 feet. I mean, it can be done.
Yeah, I agree. And I think, you know, and I think that people are just too darn trusting of different governments, and I think that they don't, I don't think people really want to get that, you know, these things are really possible, because what they don't know, they don't have to deal with. And, you know, the things that happened at 9/11 with those buildings blowing up that had nothing to do with the plane. I mean, come on. You know, we have to start looking at these things and